All right. Good afternoon, everybody. Thank you so much for joining us for today's session of Stronger Together, focusing on businesses helping businesses in downtown Marietta. My name is Christy Thomas, and I am the Executive Director of Marietta Main Street. Before we get started, as always, I'd like to share a few notes. First, this session is in fact being recorded and will be made available for review after the meeting. You may choose to keep your video on or off during the session, but I do ask that everybody mute themselves before and after any questions you may have. A presentation will be shown courtesy of our speaker once we get started. Second, I do encourage those who are present to ask questions during the session. You can either raise your hand using the raise hand button on the bottom of your screen, or you can type a question into the chat box, which I'll be monitoring for our speaker. Third, this program is put forward by Marietta Main Street thanks to the efforts of our Economic Vitality Committee. If you're interested in joining that committee or any other committee, we are always looking for volunteers and sure could use any time, talent, or energy folks want to give to us. Now for today's session, planning for the seasons. In this session, our speaker, Whitney, will discuss how to create seasonal projections, figure out how your business is impacted by weather and holiday traffic, and how best to align your brand with each season's best characteristics. Whitney, with her husband, owns 74 Social, a new restaurant on Front Street downtown, as well as being a proud McDonald's owner and operator. Her experience in the restaurant industry includes work in New York City, my home, Los Angeles, and Hong Kong. I'm so excited that Whitney was able to carve out some time for us today. So without any further ado, I'll pass it over to you, my dear, and let you take it off.
Thanks, Christy. I'm so excited to be here. My imposter syndrome is going pretty hardcore today, so just bear with me, guys. So talking about the seasons, of course, my phone is going to start buzzing, even though I put it off silent. So talking about the seasons, well, let me just start off again and saying I own 740 Social downtown, and I also own a McDonald's. I've been in the restaurant industry for quite a long time, and I've worked in so many different types of restaurants, upscale Italian, high-end seafood, like low down and dirty barbecue. Like I've been kind of all over the spectrum when it comes to food service. I don't have any retail experience or anything like that, but I really kind of wanted to make sure, talking to all the downtown businesses, that I could kind of bring in things that related to retail. Or I know we have some gyms, we have some more like legal and accounting type people. So I wanted to kind of keep it a little bit open. So bear with me if I, drill down into the restaurant world. I'm trying not to, but it's kind of my habit. So, planning for the seasons, just going to start out like super basic, right? Like, what are the seasons when we think of the seasons? Generally, we learn in kindergarten, right? Spring, summer, fall, and winter. Those are the main seasons. And even when I say those words, like right away, certain things kind of, evoke in your mind. Spring is wet and raindrops and puddles, and summer you feel, fireworks and barbecue. It really kind of evokes strong emotion in you, right? Fall, we all love our pumpkin spice lattes coming out. And then winter, I think generally everybody thinks, warm, cozy, holidays. So that's kind of like a basis of, foundational, what are our seasons? But then we kind of layer in another layer of kind of religious and cultural holidays. So right off the bat, if you just kind of think, boom, what are the holidays that I think of when I'm thinking I'm going into Walmart? Oh, what's a new holiday they brought out? New Year's, Valentine's Day, Mother's and Father's Day, the 4th of July, Halloween, Thanksgiving, and then again, Christmas, Hanukkah, those religious holidays that fall into the winter time. So our second layer, right? We've got seasonal, which might be more weather-based, and then things that are religious and kind of culturally ingrained in us. Okay, this is another layer of it. But doing my homework and just kind of trying to think about how I really wanted to talk about seasons, because some things are just kind of natural for me to do, but trying to branch out more into other worlds, I started kind of researching what the real seasons are. And in the retail world, there are really 13 to 20 seasons of retail. And I thought it would be really interesting to kind of talk about each one of them for a minute, because so many of them are just ingrained. We anticipate them coming, that we don't really realize we're going through them or that we're being advertised at. And as business owners, I think it's really important, that we are advertising or presenting or merchandising the best way we can for these seasons of retail, and kind of breaking it down to maybe find a niche that maybe isn't being addressed with your specific business. So like I said, they're around 13 to 20. I have about 17 that I want to talk about. So the very first one is January's resolution and organization season. Everybody's got their New Year's resolutions when they hit the ground running in January, right? Gym memberships go up. Everybody, maybe the restaurant dining drops a bit. Everybody's trying to save money and save pounds, right? So hitting the ground in January, realizing that people are trying to save money. They're trying to feel more health oriented. They're trying to be more organized. How can this play into restaurants and retail and other businesses? How can you use those motivations to get people into your particular business? So that's our first season. Health and wellness, again, growing on that. There's actually a health and wellness week in late January or early February that is promoted through the retail season. Then Super Bowl, like everybody knows when Super Bowl season is coming, right? Restaurants put out their party packages. The stores that sell, dishes and teamwear and all those type of things, is a really good time to market those things. Of course, we have Valentine's Day, fabulous or horrible, depending on how you see it, day for restaurants and for retail. But thinking about how your business could particularly use that. I mean, if you're a salon, how do you market for that specific holiday as opposed to another? Easter is, of course, kind of varies by date. Sometimes it's March, sometimes it's April. And it's a big child holiday for buying, especially in retail. I mean, when I was a kid, like we got a little candy basket and that was it. Now it's second Christmas, and how we can market that to our potential consumers is really important, because if you're not, you're really losing some sales opportunities. Of course, St. Patrick's Day, green retailing, bars, definitely a great holiday for us. Always falls in March. The lawn and garden season, we all know when that comes to Walmart and Kmart, because, their Christmas season is out, all of the gardening gloves come in, but they really hit it in April. I think Front Street in particular has a lot of potential in this season, and maybe Main Street as a whole really kind of going hardcore and leaning into this season, because it kind of get overlooked a little bit, I think, in the restaurant business particularly. How do we realize that, our consumers and our guests are getting hit with these messages all over the place, like Lowe's is advertising and everybody's, wanting to get their hands, dirty and grow things. And how do we bring those people into like our area? I know so many businesses like the Primitive Workbench and Whitney Whimsy, they all carry little things that could really kind of sell to that consumer. Allergy season. This is really funny. When I was really digging into these holidays and these retail seasons, allergy season is one of the most lucrative seasons in retail. And I know we don't have that many pharmacies that are probably part of Main Street vendors, but again, I know we have a gym, and nothing cures your runny nose or allergies better than a good restorative yoga session. So, thinking, how could I be using this season to maybe bring business into my gym or my spa? Summer fun. This really relies around like the 4th of July, but in general, the whole fun beach themes, particularly good for the restaurants downtown that have patios and things like that. Back to school. Our back to school season, everybody feels that, right? It's kind of that cozy going back into buying things for the kids, kind of as parents, kind of realigning yourself, saying, this is, my time to recreate my routine. And one thing restaurants love is when guests bring you as part of the routine, right? We're big with that with McDonald's. We want to be part of everybody's daily routine. So how you as a business can make that happen. the fall party. This season generally kind of encompasses that whole, like, pumpkin spice latte. Let me go get my decorative tea towels that really make my house feel fall-y. Let me get my hay bales and my pumpkins out on my porch, all of my mums, that type of thing. Breast cancer and pink ribbon is actually like a pretty popular retail season now. I know that the time kind of fluctuates about when it will be, but consumers are seeing that everywhere they go. So, making sure that, if that's something that you want to, support or kind of draw people in, or use as a charity driving event, it's important to know that is very big retail season as well. Cough, cold, and flu. Again, some of these really cracked me up, but I mean, if you think about it, really is a big a push that we hear, especially this time of year, this never-ending COVID season. But again, great for gyms and spas and things like that to be aware of. And then Black Friday, I know Main Street does a great job with our Black Friday and their Shop Small Saturday events. Then holiday entertaining, right? Again, that kind of encompasses all of the, how do I get ready for the holidays? How do I decorate? How do I put knickknacks out? How do I plan my holiday parties? How do I just really kind of make my personal atmosphere feel holiday-ish? And then that holiday gift season, actually going out and purchasing gifts, planning to buy gifts, returning gifts and buying new gifts. And then, of course, New Year's Eve kind of rounds out the last retail season with your reservations for dinners, your parties, your entertaining, your getting catering events and trays and things ready to go. So I really kind of wanted to break down the seasons as it, not just in the kind of weather side, but like layering those three things, right? So we've got our temperature wise, like how it makes us feel outside, layering in those cultural and religious events, and then the more of the retail, like who's advertising from like a big box store kind of way, to how we as small business owners can make sure that we're getting our cut of those markets, because those markets are, I was reading the Wall Street Journal and all of these, magazines about how they really go after these businesses. And I think there's a lot to be said that we're not missing any of them. So having said what the seasons are, I should probably look at my time to make sure I am not going to be running out. What do we do now that we know the seasons are, right? What's kind of our game plan? So it's really important that I think you look at what your business is and what seasons are important to you, because you obviously can't do all of them. Nobody's trying to do 20 holidays a year. It would be exhausting and would probably just drive you crazy. So the best advice I can give is decide what your seasonal calendar is. Like, this is the perfect time of year to do that, because you're kind of projecting what you're going to be doing next year. You're, really trying to finalize a calendar out for your next year. So, think to yourself, okay, what do I want to focus on? And then set the start and end date of your particular seasons. Because, a retail store's holiday season might be longer than mine. But it all just depends on what you want it to be. So then creating a plan to reflect that seasonal opportunity. So I'll just use kind of some examples. Like, I'm a restaurant, right? So my seasonality really reflects around our menu, our cocktail list, and our decor. And then how do I want that to reflect what it is that the holiday means? So like let's compare like Halloween, Thanksgiving, and Christmas. So for me, Halloween, like 740 is all about being social, right? It's all about having fun. So we really want Halloween to reflect the fun side of like feeling like a kid again. So I don't know if many of you have been into our restaurant for our Halloween decorations, but I mean, like, we've got claws coming out of things. We've got axes on the walls. We've got creepy little dolls sitting on the couches and skeletons trying to get out of the patio, because we just want you to come in and feel like, oh, this is so silly. It's so fun, So we want that to be what the holiday brings to them. So for our cocktail list, for example, we try to do like sillier kind of drinks, like bright green drinks, things with spiders in them or vampire teeth, just to kind of get that kitschy, I feel like a kid, oh, this is so silly kind of feeling. As opposed to Thanksgiving, where we want it to feel more cozy, I guess you could say. So like warmer things. We want our dishes to be reflective of, you know, those fall flavors like butternut squash, beets, pumpkin dishes. Where for Halloween, we have like jellied eyeballs. So you feel funny and silly and kind of gross while you're eating it. But when you're eating that Thanksgiving special or those Thanksgiving cocktail specials, it feels a little bit warmer, cozier, more family oriented. Excuse me. And then moving into the Christmas season, we want it to feel more like winter wonderlandy feeling, right? We want it to feel special. We want it to feel a little like, when I say cozier for Thanksgiving, I want it to feel a little, not fancier, but just more special. Like, oh, this is a special thing that I'm drinking. Or the decorations make me feel just like super, you know, I don't know, what are like window decoration-y feeling, you know, where you're like, oh, it was an event for me to go here because it was so beautiful. It was transformed, the space. It doesn't look the same anymore. It just looks so, ooh, beautiful. Because that's personally what I think of Christmas is very transformative. It's beautiful. It makes you feel just a little special, right? You know, when it comes to creating that plan, you know, we take into account, okay, what are the decorations that we're going to want? What are the ingredients that we're going to need? What are the dishware and glasses and things that we're going to need for that? And then after we've kind of created a plan, we want to make sure it makes financial sense, right? Because we can't go out and spend $20,000 on Christmas gear. It just doesn't work, right? We don't have that kind of money to do that. So, you know, we always tend to have a list of, you know, what we have to have, what we'd like to have, and what would be really awesome to have, and then kind of figure out where that seasonal stuff kind of fits into there. And then the execution, right? Like, and this doesn't just regards like into decorations and things like that, but let's say you're a retail store or, you know, a restaurant, like what do I need to order my product, right? If you're trying to have a drink with Midori for a green witch's drink, like you can't order it in October. You need to order it in September because every other restaurant or bar is going to have ordered it, right? I don't have to tell you retail people that because I'm sure you all understand all the supply chain issues and things that are going on right now. But, you know, just really having that plan, if you're making your calendar now for next year, like, yeah, I want to order all of my stuff at this point. So it's here. I'm allowing for extra travel time, that type of thing. And then what you're advertising for, right? So like if you're doing this awesome Thanksgiving special or this awesome Christmas Black Friday deal, like how are you getting the word out? And how are you using either social media or your paid advertising and things like that to really capture and get that kind of return on investment, right? You know, at 740, you'll see every time we put a picture out, it's by some kind of our, you know, decoration or some kind of our decor. Running out of things, I'm gonna have to change all the decor to keep taking pictures of drinks. But really using those decorations or those special things that you're doing to try to drive people in. I guess merchandising to maximize as well. So how do I, you know, I was reading some great things, again, probably don't have to tell any of the retail people, but about kind of the seasonality of even within your life cycle of your product, you know, talking about, you know, when you're getting your Christmas things in, people tend to order their or buy their kids' presents and their big presents at the very beginning of the Christmas season, the shopping season, and then, you know, changing your merchandising around to make sure that, you know, your stocking stuffers are out closer to Christmas because of the change in the buying habits. So whatever your particular business is really looking at, okay, within my season, what is the flow? Does it change, you know, within, if summer is my big season, like how do I, like for instance, our beer garden, how do I maximize the life cycle of that beer garden season? You know, we've already ordered our heaters and things like that so that we can transition it when it starts to get a little bit colder. So just trying to plan ahead like that. And then what are, you know, plans to like adjust, mark down, transition out of, you know, your season? You know, you don't want to be the last kid on the block with your Halloween decorations up. I know that because we were last year. But, how do you plan that within your seasonal calendar to be like, okay, this is the day it comes down, this is the day the next one goes up. I think there are a lot of really great places in downtown who do that. I know Cozy Kitchen is like always on top of their seasons. They're like in, out, done. They've got their advertising ready to go. So many of our downtown businesses already kind of do those things. And then just kind of some silly things that, again, everybody knows, but worth touching on is, when you're talking about seasonality, adjusting for staffing. I know staffing is such a hot issue sometimes right now, but how do you really plan ahead? If I know that my spring season is my super busy season, like maybe I need to start hiring people, February 15th so that they're ready to go by my start of March 1st, or my holiday or things like that. Or safety and security, like we know St. Patrick's Day, in the restaurant business can be kind of wily. So how do I beef up my safety and security measures and make sure all of my staff know, the appropriate way to cut people off or the appropriate way to ask people to leave and things like that. So building that kind of into your seasonal calendar, I think is super helpful as well. But those are kind of my main points. Christina, do you have any questions? Do you have any thoughts, anything like that?
All right. Does anyone have any questions for Whitney? She covered a lot of ground this afternoon. So if you have questions, I'll just give a minute. You can put your hand up or you can type something in the chat box if you do have anything you want to ask or something you might want to hear more about. So I know one question I have for you, Whitney, is what tools, so you talked about the seasons, you talked about some of the thought processes and considerations to make to plan for the seasons. But what tools, when it gets down to just like on the ground, how do you actually manage your mind to flag all the things? I know it's like you don't, but do you have like a spreadsheet or something that you post inside your business to remind your staff of seasonality and those kinds of considerations? I'm just curious, what tools have you seen other folks use just to keep us on track? Because obviously on the day-to-day of running a business, there's a lot of energy that is being poured into that. So if you want to talk a little bit about the tools you've seen folks use to be able to manage for the seasons.
Definitely. So, it also kind of just depends on the size of your business, right? So I don't have it at the restaurant, but in my office, so I have two businesses, right? So I have every September, October, I go to Office Depot and I buy like so much money worth of calendars, but like the huge ones, kind of like the one you can almost see behind me, that's just my 4-month family calendar. But like I have a 12-month calendar and I have specific ones. I actually have one that has every holiday written out. And I'm talking about like the dumb ones too, like, National French Fry Day and things like that. So that I try not to miss an opportunity, or at least, if we're too busy to utilize the opportunity, at least I know I missed it as opposed to not, right? So I have those all out in our office, and then I try to do it on a month by month basis with our staff, because I find that my team so far is still very new, that they can't handle a lot of information a lot of time in advance. So we have a weekly manager meeting, and one of my manager's responsibilities is to go through and talk about all of the upcoming local things that could be affecting business that week. And then we talk about, okay, this is going to be First Friday. This is going to be when we're starting our things. So for my small business, it's mostly me and a calendar, and then, all of us around a table on Tuesday afternoon. McDonald's is much more organized. They really lay it out on like, step-by-step directions, but, most people don't have that kind of stuff coming to them, but.
Awesome. Thank you. Do we have any other questions or topics that we'd like to hear Whitney share a little bit more about? All righty. Well, if that's the case, go ahead.
Question.
Go ahead.
So for seasonal businesses, it's not so much a business question, but maybe kind of more of an opinion piece. How could something like the chamber, how could we support you better? Like, do you guys do like seasonal flyers or something? Or like, is there something that we can do just as a community organization to help you guys?
I think a lot of times that I think some of the things that the Chamber and Marietta Main Street do are super helpful as far as like, hey, this is what's coming down the pike. This is, our whole calendar for the year. I think it would be awesome if more of the businesses were able to get together and say like, hey, we really want to have a theme for this whole month, or like, hey, we want to lean into this season together. And I know we do things like that with like best Christmas displays or things like that. I think those things are very helpful. And I also think that anytime, because every business owner is so stressed out, right? They've got a million things on their plate. It's really hard to go through and find a local calendar of things that are going on in the community. So I think having that would be extremely helpful. And when I talk about it, I mean, there's live music on the park today. There's a basketball game at the college today. Just anything that would impact business flow or foot traffic would be great to know, because so often it just happens. It'll be like Dina from the CVB saying, hey, by the way, they're in town tonight. But you don't really have time to staff for that at that point. So just knowing those things in advance would be amazing.
Okay, definitely. Yeah, we'll keep an eye out on a social calendar and see what we can do to let people know more about what's going on.
Love
Thank
it.
you so
You guys are awesome.
Awesome. Any other questions or comments? All right. Well, Whitney, you did an awesome job. I really appreciate you sharing your time and expertise with us today. I'm sure if anyone does have questions about anything that Whitney shared with us, she'd be more than happy to take those from here until the end of time. And of course, we all know where to find her right there on Front Street. Our next session of the Stronger Together series is featuring Laura Pitlick of Wit and Whimsy, a retail shop on Front Street, and she'll be discussing with us storefront design and maintenance, which I am super excited to hear about because obviously we know that super affects what Whitney was talking about, our ability to be seasonal, of course, revenue generation from the foot traffic that it could potentially bring into our shops. So I am very excited and looking forward to hearing her. All righty. Well, thank you so much for being here today. And I look forward to seeing you all soon.
Thanks, Christine.